So apparently Giro director Mauro Vegni watches this show, because after last week's episode in which I berated him for poor media management, he was all like, "Giro's not dead!" to a much friendlier group of journalists at this week's pre-race presser. Oh, right, the Giro starts today. I should mention that. Anyway, Vegni was all like, over a decade ago, and then VeloNews' Andrew Hood started talking about the 2000 race and how Marco Pantani and Mario Cipollini dominated everything. Which is just... I mean, Y2K was 40% more than a decade ago. Chippo and Pantani had one stage win between them that year, and neither factored in any of the overall competitions, and the sprint jersey was won by a Russian. But, facts. Snark aside, non-Italians do make up the bulk of the favorites for this year's Giro. But I'm not sure how much credit for that change belongs to the race itself and how much must be begrudgingly given to the UCI through its Pro Tour and World Tour efforts. The idea of that competition structure was to get the best teams from around Europe into all the big races, regardless of where they were, and I'm pretty sure that the Giro's parent company fought it tooth and nail. Then there's the little matter of having people actually be able to see the race. That's the idea of the foreign start, right? Oh, yeah, the start's in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Probably should mention that part too. Anyway, the point of the expense of moving the race across Europe. Actually, I should probably also add that because of the UK start, nearly a dozen riders found themselves unable or nearly unable to start because of problems getting a visa. Seriously, I'm pretty sure that there are no Kazakhs starting this year's race, and all of Team Colombia missed the entire tour of Turkey because they were waiting for the British Embassy to approve its documents. So I was going to say that the point of these foreign starts was to increase the audience for the Giro, but maybe this was an elaborate plot to make the Italian government look somehow competent by comparison. Besides, if the point were really eyeballs, you'd think the Giro would do better for their partners on the most watched anything ever than giving them a preview video that had been out for the past 7 months. But nah, I'm sure there's no one out there making cool stuff to watch about bike racing. Of course, one group of people who disagree with that last statement is this week's t-shirt sponsor. Kind Human was founded by a longtime Cyclocosm watcher, and does cool stuff like giving bikes to deserving individuals so they can ride, rather than the standard model of providing them to people who are already good at it. And they offer DIY stands to their club members at their pro shop. Links in the description. 4 days of Dunkirk. Honestly, this race had a lot more going for it when you could make fun of the fact that it actually took 6 days to get the thing over with. Last year it was won by FDJ's Arnaud Démare, and this year Arnaud Démare has won the first 2 stages. But in terms of media outreach, there hasn't even been the standard cycling news blurb, which is really weird because they have a US broadcaster in Universal Sports. But at the happy end of the promotion equation, we're 2 stages into the Women's Tour of Britain. It's been pretty rad so far, with huge crowds, aggressive racing on heads-up courses, and intermediate competitions. The 2 stage winners so far have been Orica AIS's Emma Johansson and stem-slamming Rosa Lorato of Estado de Mexico. Look at that international flavor. It's a veritable women's Tour de France. Well, not quite. First off, broadcaster ITV hasn't figured out KM2Go graphics yet, and unlike the actual Women's Tour de France, or rather the Tour Cycliste Féminine that used to exist, there really aren't any big climbs or time trials, which might explain some of the more notable absences from the start list. By the way, did I mention that those people putting on a women's criterium in July filed a trademark lawsuit against the Tour Cycliste Féminine like 16 years ago? Tour Cycliste Féminine, Tour de France, Specialized Allée, Nil Pride Alizé, and you guys wonder why I don't like the tour that much. But hey, the TDF's corporate overlord, the ASO, will be stateside next month at the Tour of California, helping run the live broadcast and distribution. Tour of California also has a token women's race. Did I say token? I meant, actually I'm gonna go with token. Tour of California also has a token women's race, but I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Likewise, it must surely also be a coincidence that UCI chief Brian Cookson has chosen to roll out a limited derogation of on-bike cameras at the Tour of California. An event that, as previously mentioned, is affiliated with the ASO, which is almost hilariously obsessed with considering itself the sole owner of any footage captured at any of its races. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough whether there was anything to all that ASO takeover talk after all. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that was the week in bike.